Alright. So, we're going to be commentating this game, focusing on El Pistolero, on Gragas Jungle here. I've watched a little bit of this game before starting this commentary, so I have a couple of things in mind that I'd like to cover. The things I'm going to be focusing here are jungle pathing and high variance plays. And by high variance plays, I mean plays that can be really hit or miss. And in general, those are not risks you want to take in solo queue. So oftentimes, what prevents players from improving is they make a play that's actually very high risk and has a negative expected value. So in most cases, the play will end up hurting them. But in that particular situation, their opponent is not actually strong enough to punish the mistake they make, so they keep on making that mistake, and then they're unable to learn and improve on it. So I'm going to cover a lot of things that the Gragas player here gets away with, but should not actually be able to get away with. And there's a couple of mistakes like that. And even though Gragas ends up getting very far ahead, it could easily have been much worse because of the way the pathing works out. So I'm just going to start this game, and we'll see what I mean by that shortly. So this beginning part's not too interesting. I'm just going to speed through this really quick. Stick me onto Gragas while I drag character models around.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Bothers me when champions are on the right order. Alright. So we're starting bottom side with Gragas. And competitive play and higher elo, the current metagame has been to start top side jungle so that your bottom lane can do the bottom side jungle camp and hit level 2 for the past level 2. It's not particularly relevant at this level of play though, so this is fine. You can start bottom side with a stronger leash. So I'm actually going to remove red vision here. So we're going to play it really from Gragas' perspective to as much as we can here. So Gragas comes up to ward. It's fine. Let's see. Familiarize myself with the hotkeys. Alright. 1, 2, 3. The minions are spawning. And this ward is fine. It lets you determine what side of the jungle Shyvana will start here. So because you see no one here yet, it seems to imply that Shyvana's starting top side. I've seen a little bit of this game already, so we do end up seeing that Shyvana starts Raptor camp, which is a little bit unusual. This is not a standard route. So we start by clearing here. Going for the delayed smite. It's fine. One thing that you do not do at all here is that you do not kite the jungle camps. Kiting jungle camps is something that's actually pretty important, and you can get up to like maybe even 100 extra health on your first clear on certain junglers, and that can be huge because 100 health can make or break ganks and make or break jungle duels. So you don't kite at all here. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what I mean by this, but it's the same thing as kiting on a ranged champion. It has to do with the auto attack animation on the jungle creeps. So if you queue up your attack command, you'll have the wind up, you'll hit the auto attack, and then there's a window in which you can move backwards and then hit the camp again. And the reason you want to do this is because the jungle camps, you have a chance to reset their auto attack animation when you do this, because the jungle camp is out of range. So if you move at just the right time, the jungle camp will have to reposition before they can auto attack, and thus their attack cycle is delayed. And over time, this will save a lot of health. It also makes your clear more efficient because you can kite the jungle camps toward your next camp. And when you do that, you can cut precious seconds out of your clear path and becomes much more efficient. These things may not sound like a big deal, but they add up over time. And these kinds of things can make or break games. You always have to be attentive to small details like this as a jungler. Another thing I'd like to talk about is just minimap usage in general. Because this is a replay, not a first-person camera, I don't get to see where you're looking. But just as a cool trick that I like to use a lot when I'm jungling and when I lane as well, but especially in the jungle, because you don't have CS, so there's a huge APM barrier that's just removed. So you can use the function keys to check different characters on the map. So I can't do this because I'm in a replay, and the hotkeys are bound differently, but you can press function key 1, F1 to select yourself, F2 to select the second person on your team, F3 is select the third person on your team, F4 is select the fourth person on your team, and so on. This is really helpful because it means you can jump around to different people on the map very quickly and get information that would not be normally visible on the minimap, such as wave pushing, champion health, itemization, all of that sort of thing that is really important to know for ganks and setting up pathing, if having efficient jungle pathing. So getting in the habit of doing that is really good. I'd highly recommend it to any player, but especially in the jungle. So you do, Gragas does Krugs here, and then paths away from the buff. So this implies a fast level 2 gank. It's possible to do this on Gragas, but if you fail this, it puts you very far behind. Because the other option that Gragas ends up taking here, because I've seen a little bit of the gameplay footage, is go for a blue invade. Because you have this ward here, and you see that Shyvana did not start bottom side. And I'll explain a little bit why I think this is not good in a moment. Most critically though, Gragas has not leveled Body Slam yet. And Body Slam is a huge cooldown for Gragas. Gragas' kit basically is not functional until you have level 3. Until you have Body Slam, you don't have CC, you don't have an escape, you can't really duel, you can't really gank, so you're just very vulnerable when you don't have Body Slam, because it's such a huge part of Gragas' power. I guess another thing is about itemization. You don't need 3-pot on Gragas because of his passive. Refillable potion is generally the preferred option because you don't really need that extra bit of early sustain. You can just power through it with your passive and have a very healthy clear. So another part of why this, Gragas goes past here because you don't have Body Slam, so it's not possible to gank bottom lane, and walks up top lane. So I don't like this for a couple of reasons, because Shyvana did not start bottom side, but Shyvana has one of the fastest clears in the game. So even if we assume that Shyvana started Krugs, so say we didn't have the special knowledge that she started Raptor, she can actually end up clearing Krugs, Red, Raptor, and then as you're doing blue buff, peek around smiting Wolf, and then the Wolf ghost will find you at blue. And Gragas doesn't actually do enough damage at this point of the game to safely do a blue buff. And I'll explain why Shyvana had an opportunity to punish you and failed to do so. The only time in which it's possible to do this is if you know that they did in fact start bottom side. And then you can actually go for a smite steal while they're doing this. So let's say the jungler's over here and they're doing the camp. Then maybe you can approach from here and smite, or you can go here, ward this, smite over the wall if they don't pull it out, but that's a little bit unusual. They'll usually pull it out. I guess the other way is if they're kiting the buff out to here, you can loop around, pop a ward in this bush, and then smite over this wall. That's another option. But yes, another reason why this is really dangerous is because of the bot lane matchup. This is something to pay attention to. Right now your bot lane is Tristana Alistar versus Morgana Vayne. And this lane, Morgana and Vayne just should get destroyed. Alistar is a very strong laning phase for a tank. He has reliable engage that is not really possible to spell shield unless Morgana has like godlike reaction speed, which I doubt at this kind of level of play. And in the Vayne versus Tristana matchup, Tristana normally has an advantage, and it's a kind of advantage that balances out in terms of minion pressure. Tristana has the passive on her E, which does the AoE, when she last hits a minion. That'll automatically push the wave. So there's going to be huge wave pressure pushing toward your tower here, and it means that their bot lane is going to have a much faster collapse if you get in trouble in the enemy jungle. So this is extremely dangerous because of the bot lane dynamic. You can also look mid, and it looks like Syndra has a slight wave push here. So both mid lane and bot lane have wave push, which means that they have a double collapse on you, and you cannot expect any assistance from your team whatsoever when you go in on this. And on top of that, you still don't have body slam, which means you don't have a dash to escape if you get cornered out. You'll have to rely on your flash, and even that may not be enough, especially against a Shyvana who has so much move speed. So still really dangerous. So let's see what happens. We'll see that Shyvana is doing Wolf. And you start this blue up. So I'm going to switch to all vision here, global vision. So you'll notice that Shyvana has done Raptor Wolf, so she's here a little bit earlier than she should be. And this is what I mean by an unpunished mistake. So if you look right here, Shyvana, does she have smite? Or does she smite Wolf? Wish there was a way to check this. I cannot tell if Shyvana has a smite charge ready or not. I'm gonna go back and look at her clear. I'm fairly sure she does though. Because yeah, she would smite Raptor. She wouldn't have smite for Wolf. So yeah, she definitely has smite up at this moment. So we're gonna check something. Shyvana's here. She sees you. Ping goes off here. I don't know whose ping this is. I believe it's Shyvana pinging her bot lane. You're level 2. She's level 2. Now, it looks like you're healthier than Shyvana. And because of this, Shyvana's afraid. But she actually doesn't need to be. Because Shyvana's one of the strongest jungle duelists in the game. Gragas is one of the weakest jungle duelists in the game, and you don't have body slam, which means that like Gragas has no way to stop Shyvana from just running him down and killing him. And on top of that, if you look in the sideways, Syndra has wave pressure, bottom lane has wave pressure, slight wave pressure, yeah. So they'll hit too soon off of this creep wave. Alistar can rotate and collapse with Heart's EC. Gragas, in this situation, should always die, assuming like his opponents are confident. So of course, it ends up turning out that Shyvana doesn't know how that her teammates can collapse. She doesn't expect her teammates to collapse, and she doesn't realize that she can actually win 1v1 here because Shyvana is such a strong early duelist. It doesn't matter that she's behind in health. She can run here, contest blue, smite it away because I believe you smited. I can't actually recall, but let me go back and look. Actually, that's important information. Alright, so Gragas does not smite here. So you smite at the end. Alright. But it was actually 50-50 smite. Shyvana and you are both level 2, which means Shyvana can actually go for the coin flip. And on top of that, she fails to recognize that she can duel you here. And now part of why this invade is not good as well is because the way jungle experience works, you don't actually hit level 3 off of taking this camp. You're still level 2 from Krug and then blue buff, which means you still don't have body slam. And that makes this escape impossible. If you're against competent players, you should never get away with this. You should die every single time. Because both your mid lane is pushed out and your bottom lane is pushed out, and you're going to get collapsed on. Now this doesn't go punished. So then you might say, well, I didn't get punished, it worked, it's fine, right? Yes and no. The problem is that even though you can get away with it against weaker players, you're eventually going to rely on it. Rely on making these kinds of bad decisions to get these greedy decisions that get you ahead. And then ultimately, it's going to cripple you once you reach the point where people know how to punish these things, and then you'll have to readapt your entire style. So ultimately, I think it's better to make individually sound decisions, and not rely on things that depend on your opponent being bad and not punishing you. So overall, Shyvana could have killed you, she could have pinged for a collapse, she didn't contest the smite, and then you get away with this invade. As one of the worst duelists in the game against one of the strongest duelists in the game, this should never happen. And you'll see their bot lane runs away instead of collapsing. So what I thought their bot lane could do, and what they should have done, is that they have wave push here. They have the wave pushed out. So because that they can roam up here, cut you off, and lose nothing. And then I'm drawing on the mini map just so it's clear. Syndra can collapse like this. Their bot lane collapses like this. Sorry, it's hard to see the blue on the river. The Shyvana pincers you, you're dead. Gragas is dead. This Gragas, he's gone. He's gone. Like, there's no way he makes it the wall in time to flash, and even then he doesn't have body slam. So like they can actually flash over the wall and just kill Gragas. So Gragas should always die in this situation. Oh, whoa! I pressed the wrong button. Sorry. All right. So. TLDR, Gragas should not be able to get away with this invade. But it works, kind of. So I'm going to comment on something else in addition to this. So Gragas stole a camp, right? And after taking the camp, Shyvana is ahead in jungle creeps. So one thing to keep in mind is that buffs, I believe, give you actually less experience than a non-buff camp, slightly less. I'm not a jungle main, so don't quote me on that. Check that for yourself. But I'm fairly sure that buffs gives you less EXP than regular camps. At the very least, they don't give you more EXP. And because of that, there's actually not too much of incentive of stealing away blue here, because Shyvana is not even a blue-dependent jungler. She's literally manaless. The blue does almost nothing for her. So denying this blue ends up doing very little to hurt Shyvana, and Shyvana actually clears camps very quickly. She clears these 3 camps, and in the meantime, you've walked from your Krug, I'm drawing the mini-map by the way, from your Krug all the way here, taken blue, and then walked path back to the same path toward your red. And Shyvana has gone from Raptor to Wolf to Gromp. And you'll notice that Shyvana has done 3 jungle camps to Gragas' 2 jungle camps here. And sure, Gragas took blue buff or whatever, but Shyvana doesn't even care about losing blue buff. She's manaless. So Shyvana is actually ahead after this invade. So not only should Gragas have died in the invade, even the successful invade puts Gragas behind in jungle farm. So this invade is very poor, because at this point in the game, the buffs don't really matter. What matters is having jungle farm, jungle CS, and having gold, so you can make your first recall, come out the map with an item advantage. And if that's the end goal, Gragas has actually put himself very far behind by counter jungling Shyvana, paradoxically. So it's good to counter jungle, but you always need to keep in mind what you're counter jungling for and where you're going to go afterward. So you don't want to counter jungle yourself into a dead end path where you have to backtrack over camps you've already cleared and thus lose a clear efficiency. No, XSplit is telling me I have high CPU usage. Thanks, XSplit. Alright. So Gragas clears red. Shyvana's already going for her first back right here. Keep in mind. Gragas is working on the 3rd camp that Shyvana's already cleared. Shyvana's back on base with Hunter's Talisman. So Shyvana's route is a little weird. She could have done Crab there and had a stronger back, but I'm just going to focus on Gragas here for now. So while you're doing this, don't just stare at red buff. If you're staring at it, at the very least you should be kiting it out so you take less damage. Gragas could have an extra like 50 HP here if you kite red buff successfully, but while you're doing this red buff, if you're not going to kite, keep looking at your lanes. And there's a lot of important information here going on right now. So you can look top lane. Yasuo's slightly behind, but he has a slight wave push. It's very possible he gets ganked because you know Shyvana cleared her bottom side jungle and is going to return top lane. So you can actually ping Yasuo right now and let him know he's about to get ganked in the next minute or so. Or that he has a chance to get ganked in the next minute or so. You can look mid. You see that Syndra's pushing in on Lux. Lux is getting pushed in. This means there's an opportunity to gank mid. It also means that their mid laner will get a faster collapse on you if you try to fight for Crab or invade. You can look bottom lane. Your Morgana is dying. Looks like Alistar comboed in or something like that. I don't want to spend too much time on that because I've only 3 minutes in the game. I've been spending a lot of time talking, so I just want to keep moving forward. So Gragas collects red here. So Gragas has Krug, blue, red, 3 camp. Shyvana's also on 3 camp. But Shyvana has a recall, which means she has a tempo advantage. And she's going to start farming really quickly. So we see Gragas commit to ganking bottom lane. Let's look at the vision from both sides. So I think this is okay if you know for sure that this bush is not warded. That being said, this is still a very dangerous gank. And by dangerous, I mean it's a very risky gank in a couple different ways. So let's say this gank goes perfectly. So for some reason, Tristana and Alistar don't read this gank coming. They don't read the aggressive motion from Vayne. They don't back off. You get in a 2v2, somehow Morgana doesn't die, and you're able to kill Tristana, maybe, or Alistar, maybe committing flash body slam, or body slam flash. What do you do next? You're level 3, maybe Vayne hits 3 off of this. You cannot take bottom tower right now. There's no way you can take it off of this, because death timers are too low. So you push this wave out, and you don't have any jungle to farm. This is cleared. I'm gonna draw the meme now. This is cleared. This is cleared. You would have to, if you wanted to do another camp, you would have to walk all the way back here to do Raptor, and that's horrible efficiency because you walk past 2 empty camps. Basically, you want to spend as little time walking past empty camps as possible when you're jungling. So this plays very high risk, and what I mean by that is that if you make it work, you come out about even, because you net a kill, but you have really inefficient pathing, so you have to recall immediately afterward. And if it doesn't work, you're screwed. if you come down here and gank, maybe you blow a summoner spell, but neither of them die, you're actually just super far behind now. Because of the way your route is pathed, you can no longer farm after this gank, which means you have to recall after collecting both buffs, so you lose huge buff duration, you get a kind of mediocre recall. Let's see how much gold you're sitting on. Have 400 gold, 500 gold or so, so it means you have like Hunter's Talisman, Pink Ward, which is kind of a mediocre back, given the way you pathed. I mean, it's acceptable and you might have to if this gank doesn't work, and then you can clear from top side. So let's say you fail this gank or you see this gank, and then you recall. So you'll come out of base, pathing like this, and then you can maybe leave the base gate, and then do something like Wolf, Gromp, Blue, and then gank mid or top. You could also do pathing out of the base gate, Wolf, Blue, Gromp, top lane. There are a couple different versions in which you can sequence this. I'm not a jungle expert, so I don't want to speak too much about that in case I say something wrong. But just basically you would want to path topside if this gank doesn't work, given that you are committing to it, and I disagree with that. I think you could have just recalled right away to get topside faster. Or even just gone to Raptor and full cleared up topside. So then you fail this gank. This is pretty catastrophic. You're super far behind now. And that's because Shyvana has a huge tempo. She's about to clear red and Raptor. You're just doing Crab, which is a slow clear. So Crab is kind of a time sink camp because it doesn't damage you, which means that you actually heal off of it. But it takes a very long time to do the Crab relative to the amount of gold in the XP it gives you, especially at this point in the game. So it's very powerful because the Crab gives you vision, and because it's a contested objective, it denies your opponent the chance to do Crab as well. But it takes a long time. And you'll notice that you've spent so long in the spawn side of the jungle that your Krug respawned over here while you're still on the same side of the map. And that's a huge no-no. And the reason that's bad is because sure, you can walk back and do this Krug, but it means the rest of your jungle hasn't been cleared yet, and that means the rest of your jungle is like level 2. And let's see. So we can click on these camps and see the level, I believe. Where is it? Is it not in the replay? Or am I just really bad at spectating? Basically, what I wanted to explain is that the jungle camps actually have levels, and the higher level they are, the more EXP they give you. So when you don't clear a side of your jungle for a long time, it can end up putting you extremely under-leveled. Even if you have comparatively equal amounts of farm to the enemy jungler, the sequencing of those camps affects how much experience you get. So because you do the Crab here, means your topside jungle has gone uncleared for so long, you're falling really far behind in experience. And this experience gain difference isn't going to be visible now, but it will show up minutes from now. And that's the kind of mistake that players don't realize they're making, because the consequences of it don't appear until minutes later after the mistake is made. So then you come back bot lane. This is acceptable given you've committed to staying so far bot lane. But it means that as soon as you reveal, if Shyvana is good, she takes your entire topside jungle, and then you're gone. You're removed from the game because you spent so long here. Shyvana can click you, count your CS, and know that you've never gone topside. And by count your CS, I mean like she knows that you did blue and you must have started Krug, and she knows that you probably pathed red to gank bot lane after, and then that will be 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then she can click you and see that you have 9 creeps, which means that you did Crab. And then she knows exactly which camps you did. She knows that you did not do your Raptor, you did not do your topside jungle. She can come over here, counter your blue, counter your wolf, counter your gromp, and then when you recall and then clear topside, you'll get no gold. And if Shyvana plays that correctly, that's a game-ending gold lead. That should end the game. And of course that doesn't happen. We'll see how it actually plays out. Alistar face checks this bush. You force flash. Tristan jumps out. They blow heal, so you get a lot of summoner spells, but you don't actually kill them. And this was an extremely all-in line of play, because you've basically sacrificed your entire jungle economy just to get bot lane summoner spells and keep this lane even, because Vayne and Morgana were naturally losing the lane anyway, partly due to the matchup, but also in part because probably of the players. So you basically sunk all of your hopes in this bot lane, saying like, oh, if I just get this bot lane even, maybe they'll carry me. And you've tanked your entire economy. You can look at the gold differential here. Shyvana already has a 100 gold lead on you. Somehow the rest of your team has money advantage, which is confusing to me. I think they're just CSing better mechanically. But because of the pathing you've taken, you're already down like about 2 camps. Or about to be 2 camps because Shyvana's going to clear a camp as you're walking out. So this should still be a death sentence if any of the players are competent, I think. But it's an exciting game. Interesting things happen in solo queue, even at higher levels of play people throw. So of course it's not like, I'm not saying that you'll like super definitely instantly lose, right? Because of course that doesn't happen. But what I mean to say is that there's already been huge grievous mistakes made by both sides, and it hasn't even hit the 5-minute mark. So you come mid here, notice that you walked mid without clearing a camp in between, and that gives Shyvana time to do 2 camps, including your blue buff. So that blue buff steal you did earlier gets matched, and this is a higher value blue buff because it'll be at a point where she's higher level and the CDR is more relevant. The opportunity is nice here because Syndra has been committing a lot of mana just to push. Lux can follow up on this with Bind. You can even body slam flash, and then this would be a guaranteed kill if you body slam flash. That being said, I still think you should really do a camp in between your ganks. It's really bad to just set your mind on like just ganking. Like, that being said, it's also very bad to set your mind on only farming when there are opportunities. So jungling is a very reactive dynamic thing. You need to look for opportunities, but you also need to be doing camps in between. So being ready to gank, but also farming in your downtime is really important. It's a really hard thing to do. I don't know exactly how to do it. I'm not a jungler, but I understand a lot of the principles and theory behind it. And you want to be trying to doing camps in between your ganks instead of just running around ganking, unless you're intentionally realizing that you've sunk your economy so badly that you're willing to become like a second support in the game and just let your team carry you. And I think that's possibly a little bit dangerous at this elo. Lux binds nothing. That's what I mean by see this gank is like puts a lot of trust in your team. Move up here. You don't commit flash body slam. Yeah, Lux is running away. I think if Lux moves forward, and then flash ease here, and then as you flash body slam, you can potentially burst her. No, never mind. She has barrier. Yeah, so there's no way you can kill here. You don't have lethal. And note, in the meantime, the time you spent, I'm going to be clicking on the minimap right now. I need to change the color of my minimap because you can't see the blue on the river. How about yellow? Is yellow okay? Let's try this yellow. Oh, that's so bright. I like it. Alright, so then, say you ganked bottom, and then you walked all the way through river to gank mid immediately afterward without doing a camp. You could have instead gone, say, if you really want to gank mid, you could pad like this, Raptor, mid gank. You can do Krug, Raptor, Wolf, and then gank mid or top, depending on what suits you. You can, if you have a trinket ward, I think you can. No, I don't think invading here makes sense. I think it's too dangerous. But basically, like if you could woven camps into your clear, you would have a lot more gold going into this camp. You would make sure you're not falling behind in experience. You'll notice that even though you counter jungle Shyvana, she's higher level than you with a huge CS lead. It's only 7, I guess, but in the jungle CS is worth more than lane CS, so this is actually like a huge minion lead already. So in the time in which you walked from here, Shyvana did red, she walked over, did your blue, now she's doing your Gromp. So you're going to lose so many camps worth of EXP here. Yeah, unpaused. So you pad here. I'm going to go back to blue side vision. You see that your blue is gone. You must have had a word there earlier. You body slam into it. Shyvana's waiting for you. You lose this duel. You lose this duel because Shyvana is a really strong duelist. Gragas is a very poor duelist. And yeah, that's about all there is to it. You definitely lose. So you need to run. Shyvana So this is another critical mistake here. So do you have... Because you still have body slam. One second, let me watch this again. Last time I saw this, I thought that Shyvana had lethal here. Lethal damage. So she hits you. So half. Alright, so she keeps chasing you. She gets one more auto. You body slam over this wall, and then you should be out. If Shyvana is really good, I think she can flash in front of you to predict the body slam and cut off your retreat over the wall, which means that you can't body slam over the wall. You'll have to commit flash. So let me flash 1-for-1. She might be able to kill you here if she's really good, but it's close. And then Yasuo's collapsing down. That's good by Yasuo. Alright, so yeah, Shyvana can't kill you here. But it's very dangerous either way. So you see how because Shyvana counter jungled you, we're gonna be clicking on the mini map again. Your path was from bottom to mid, failing gank, to here, body slamming over blue wall, no blue buff, fighting Shyvana, Shyvana leaves, go to Gromp, Gromp's dead. So you spent, I think, a good minute and a half without getting a single jungle camp. And now Shyvana has almost double your jungle CS. Oh, whoops. I need to switch back to mouse. So we've looked at the gold. Shyvana has 300 gold on you. That's a kill worth of gold, and no one's even died this game yet. Miraculously, your lanes are just like all winning and creeps, so you're even. But they're making up for a huge CS differential on that you have against the enemy jungler. They're going to have to work against now. So all those small decisions that you made at going up to this point have cost you a kill worth of gold, just in terms of farm. And that's really not what you want in the jungle. And on top of that gold differential, you still haven't recalled yet, where Shyvana has, which is basically going to be another 2 camps or so that Shyvana is going to get on you. So she is... this lead is actually larger than it looks because of you need to recall now. So then you're forced to back after walking through all this uncleared jungle. You have no health. Shyvana takes crab. And if Shyvana's smart, I think she can snowball this game into victory and just hard carry, because she just has so much gold now. And we end up seeing that she fails to do that because she farms and farms and farms and is really far ahead, but she doesn't realize how strong she is, and then she never actually assists her team with her advantage. So basically we see like 2 opposite problems from the different junglers. Shyvana only farms and then never intervenes on the map. And then Gragas on blue side over ganks and then cripples himself, making it much harder for Gragas to impact the game later. So bot lane finally is able to cash in on the advantage they've been building up, and this is a weird play. Alright, so I'm gonna slow this down. It ends up working out, but I think there's a way you can make this cleaner. So you end up flashing the body slam wall. This is nice. I think it might be possible to just body slam over this wall. I don't think you need to flash it. Alright, sorry, I missed it again. I'm gonna watch it at half speed. Oh great, I can't pause. My pause function broke. I love Riot. I can't pause. This is amazing. Riot! I'm actually gonna reset this replay, I think, because being able to pause is really important for the things I'm talking about. One moment. Let me find command prompt again. Sorry about this. If you're watching the VOD, you can just skip through this section until the game opens again. Very sorry about this. Really want to be able to pause though. I'm just gonna fast forward back to the section where we're at, and I want to see if it's possible that you don't need to flash your body slam. I think you can just body slam over the wall and connect it. At the very least, you might as well try to body slam over the wall and then flash your body slam after you get over the wall and it's clear it's not going to hit. So I think that's a more optimal ability usage than what ends up happening. So I'm being pretty nitpicky here, but I think these things are worth talking about because they're not going to get punished at this level of play, but in order to improve, these things need to be cleaned up, and they'll become really important as you're playing against stronger players who will take advantage of small mistakes like this. Will my game load? I guess I shouldn't talk too much because I'm expecting people to skip through this section until the game starts again. Alright. I'm gonna just fast forward back to that section again. It will take a while, sorry about it.
30 seconds until minions spawn. Minions have spawned.
I could skip faster, but I don't want to overshoot it, so it won't take long. So here's the pattern we were talking about earlier, doing the red, Shyvana backs. She gets the jungle advantage with tempo, commit bottom lane blowing sums, walk through back bot lane, going back mid fail gank, checking blue, lose the duel, gromp, back. Then you walk straight bot lane. Alright, oh no, never mind, you do Krugs. Okay, that's fine. What's happening here? So, I hope that while you're doing Krugs you're watching this. It looks like you are though, so that's good. Finish Krug. Okay, let's find out. The moment of truth. Is it possible to body slam this? She gets Tiger now. Alright, yeah, so you cannot actually body slam this wall. But I think technically if you're being really nitpicky about it, it's more efficient to body slam here than flash this way. Instead of body slamming into the wall and then flashing. Because this way gives you more options in case there's the chance that Tristana kites down. So in order to account for that possibility, this is a little bit safer. But it ends up being okay. So this is nice. Pick up a nice kill here. Punish Tristana for the overextend. I don't know why Alistar headbutts there to take an extra tower hit. I think he could have just locked out, or at least just queued. I don't know what his cooldowns were. Pretty sure he had Q, but he bounced you up and then... Alright, Shyvana's here. I don't know why Shyvana's here. So I should clear her whole... Yeah, Shyvana doesn't need to be here. Shyvana can actually solo dragon right now, and then you guys are pretty sunk. Because even though you go 1 for 1, you have to blow flash. Shyvana knows that you're under leveled. You'll notice you're 2 and whole levels down here. Is there a way to check EXP? Sorry, I'm really bad at spectating. But Shyvana's 2 levels up on you and has ulti, and you're level 4. You're the same level as your bot lane, and that's never a place you want to be as a support. Sorry, as a jungler. So Shyvana's huge. Okay, Shyvana can't tower dive, but it's actually really close because you're so far behind off of the counter, your kind of like awkward counter jungle and the camps that you took on your top side. Shyvana's close to being able to dive you here. It's hard to tell. I don't play a lot of Shyvana or Gragas, but I'm fairly sure if she dives you right now, you survive with about like a couple hundred HP. So the tower should do too much damage for her to kill you fast enough. If Alistar commits though with her, they can probably kill you under tower. But it doesn't happen. Shyvana should solo dragon right now. Please tell me she goes for the dragon. Please do it. Oh my god, you can just solo this. Shyvana, do the dragon. Alright, so she doesn't do the dragon. And instead she does Raptor. And like she can do the dragon because your AD carry died. Your support had to recall. She knows that you're bot lane and can't contest by yourself because you're so underleveled. She's massively stronger. Her mid laner doesn't exactly have pressure, but her mid laner's safe, and that's enough. Tristana's coming out of base, which means that she can just do dragon for free. Shyvana's strong enough to soul it. She does a lot of damage. I guess she is sitting on some gold, which makes it a little risky, but she instead elects to just go for a Raptor, which I think is poor. And then she pads it down, which is, okay, she wanted to check your red timer, that's fine. So Tristana sees you here with the ward. Shyvana's waiting for you here. This is a little bit weird. Okay, so this makes no sense from Shyvana's perspective, right? Because she just did Raptor. She saw that red was empty. And that means that, and she saw that you're bottom lane. Okay, actually, okay, this is defense. No, it's not defensible because Tristana saw you on this ward. So which means that they know that you're over here. So there's no point for Shyvana to be here anymore. What Shyvana should instead do is, I'm drawing on the minimap now, she can pincer here, Syndra can collapse down, and then kill you. So you should die here because they saw you path past that ward. I'm not going to be casting the whole game because it would take me a long time to get through it at this rate. But I'll get through the early game, which is the interesting part before the AFK, because after the AFK the game's pretty boring, to be honest. It's just red team throws continuously. All the interesting decisions are in this early game here. Strax level 1 mana. Still level 5, not level 6 yet. Shyvana has been 6 for like a couple minutes by now. But you go for this gank anyway. Get punted out. They try to fight. Okay. That was a little weird. So you fail this gank, you haven't farmed the jungle in a while, you're down a lot of creeps, you're out of mana. And then you go for a counter jungle after being really behind against a really strong dueling jungler. The reason this is okay, I think, is because your bot lane has minion pressure, there's a wave built up, which means it's hard for their bot lane to collapse, but it's still really dangerous. Like, you can't be affording to invade the jungle anymore because of how weak you are. You can potentially walk up to set up wards with your attacker's knife, that would be fine. If you go over and ward over this wall, so I'm going to be drawing the minimap, so if you walk over here, ward over this wall here, and then maybe go over into blue, and then ward over the blue wall into here, so you have a ward. Sorry, this is really ugly, but you'll end up having a ward here, and a ward here. That would be okay. But I don't think you can afford to counter jungle, and you're also kind of wasting a lot of time here too. You should be looking to recall and go topside because you haven't farmed your topside jungle at all. I don't think you've been able to get your topside jungle once this game, which is really bad. You need to be resetting those camps. So you get full EXP. So you end up countering blue here because you have the timer from earlier, and Shyvana is somehow topside instead of securing her own blue buff, and this is on Shyvana. This is Shyvana's mistake that you're able to get this blue buff at all. Shyvana should know that you have the timer, and she has the timer as well, so she can just match you here and kill you. Like, there's nothing you can do if she's also here waiting for you, because she has ult to match your gap closer, and she has flash, and you don't, so you die 100% because you don't even have ulti to knock her away. So this is actually, this is pretty questionable. I'm actually going to see if you knew what Shyvana's pathing was before this happens. If you know Shyvana's topside, I think you can get away with this, but I don't think you actually have that information. Yeah, you don't have that information at all. You have no idea where Shyvana is. So this is... yeah, you have no idea where Shyvana is. Especially because you just revealed bottom side with the gank. She knows you're in the area. Yeah, this is super dangerous. I don't really like this. But that also ends up going unpunished. So Shyvana goes topside on the pink ward. I'm gonna go on 2x here. Just keep this moving. Bot lane somehow just forces Tristana out of lane. This is not supposed to happen. Somehow Vayne is just a huge CS lead on Tristana, and I'm fairly sure that's just because Tristana is like legit just bad at CSing, because the way the matchup goes, that should never happen. And Tristana and Alistar were winning just straight up on their own, so I think Tristana is just a weak player. Alright, Shyvana and ganks Yasuo. He has to recall. She takes her topside jungle again. Shyvana has literally gotten every single one of your topside jungle camps for the past 9 minutes. That's really bad. So you do your red. You're still bottom side. So you basically just lived in your bottom side. And it's really hitting your jungle CS. It's very clear. Even though you have these 2 kills. Alright, we're going to look at the gold. Yep, she has 150 more. She has 100 more gold than you. After you have 2 kills. And then you might say like, oh, okay, that means we're about like even. So I traded farm for kills. That's technically true in terms of gold right now, but kills are the worst way to earn your gold. And that's because if you get towers, you get global gold. That's really great. If you get CS, you get gold, you get farm, jungle farm, that's also good. There's just straight gold. But kills are unique in that when you get kills, it increases the amount of gold you give when you die. Which means that the gold advantage you have off of kills is unstable. It can instantly flip-flop if you die and then suddenly lose that lead with shutdown gold. So that's why if you can get 300 gold worth of kills, or sorry, get 300, get 300 gold worth of kills is worse than 300 gold worth of CS, even though they're both 300 gold, because of the way shutdown mechanics work. So this is a very dangerous gold lead you have. If you die a single time, this gold lead is gone, and your team is behind. So you pass blue here, you finally get something to, blue buff? So that looked like it was an accident, so I won't give you a hard time about that, but just be careful when you're passing buffs. Unless you did that intentionally because you don't like Lux, that's also actually a valid choice. It happens. Sometimes your mid laner is bad and you don't want to give them buffs. But I think that was a situation which you could have passed blue buff pretty confidently. People have talked about builds already, I think, on the Facebook thread, so Runic Echo is good because it solves your mana problems and means you can pass blue buffs all the time. It also gives you more burst damage. Gragas' ratios are really bad, but because of the way Runic Echoes works, it has its own base damage, so you can kind of cheat your low ratios and still have damage. That's why you build Iceborne as well. So this is the weird part, and I think this is one of the last few things I'll talk about before ending this. Is the weird 2v2, or rather the 2v1 followed by another 2v1, because Shyvana chickens out because she's a coward, and Shyvana never fights, she only farms. Alright, so mid lane's posturing here. Lux telegraphs this super hard, and then she plays to the bottom side, which is her weak side. So the strong side is the side in which your jungler is, and the side which she also has vision in, because you're standing there. So Lux should be playing here, and that way Syndra will be drawn to this side. And then you can potentially flash body slam over this wall, and then connect the easy kill. So this is a big mistake by Lux already. Let's poke here. You flash the body slam. That's fine. This ulti is questionable. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that ulti. So I'll watch it again. Shyvana's still winning this push, by the way, so just keep that in mind as this plays out. I'm going to send the camera here. So you flash it, that's nice. Lux managed to hit the binding. Okay, so this barrel is very bad. So the reason is because it's not in range to hit her here. And she's bound. So you kind of miss it on a stationary target. But even then, let's say you don't know. Alright, let me go back one more time. This is the thing I need to see about the timing. I'm gonna keep the camera up here. So you need to ult right now. So you took 2 steps forward instead of ulting immediately. If you're going to ult, you need to ult as they're coming out of the stun from your body slam, so the least amount of time possible to flash. So let's see. So this binding's about to hit, and you ulti here. Which means that if Syndra had flashed before the binding landed, you would just saved Syndra's life. And what I mean by that is, so she flashes to here before the binding hits, and this barrel knockback sends her here, and then she's home free because she still has flash. Or sorry, no, she doesn't have flash because she used it to escape. But like basically, you give her an opportunity to escape using this barrel, and that's why it's a little bit poor. If you want to cast it, you need to cast it as they're coming out of the body slam stun, or after Lux connects to the binding, I think, because the damage of the barrel is not relevant in this situation. but you get this kill anyway. Shyvana goes in as her laner dies because she's a coward, and then she fights you and then runs away, even though she can definitely kill you here, I think, or at least force your flash with her own, and then turn on Lux and kill her. Because Lux has no way to disengage the Shyvana at that point once Shyvana's on top of her. So I think at least one of you should die here to Shyvana, but Shyvana is a coward. So basically all these plays that you're making only succeed because Shyvana is very weak and has no self-confidence, and that means that she never tries to fight you, even though she's super far ahead and has a massive dueling advantage in this matchup. So a lot of your really bad decisions that would normally get you killed go completely unpunished by Shyvana. And that's why you're able to maintain this gold advantage. This gold advantage gets you through the weird 45 stuff that happens later, but frankly it's kind of boring. I guess I'll just skim through it for the sake of completion. So you turn this into dragon, that's good. Convert your advantage into objectives is how you can come back from this farm differential that you have. Just so you keep this in mind, we can look at the gold right here. Shyvana's still ahead in gold. You're 2-0 and 1. And Shyvana's still ahead in gold. She is almost double your farm in the jungle at the 12-minute mark. That's not what you want. Even I think you could have had a similar scoreline and just had more jungle farm if you pathed more efficiently. The other thing is that you're also still worth shutdown gold, so this gold swing can potentially be really bad. It's a fragile lead, because it's a lead based on kills, and it's not a lead that you want. You end up transitioning it into tower leads, tower damage. It's just fighting all the time, because people like to fight at this elo. No one rotates. Alright, it's just Clown Fiesta fighting for towers. Vayne's split pushing, testing objectives. And it looks like Yasuo's splitting here. The red team chases you and doesn't get anything, so they overchase here, and then Yasuo answers with a tower on the opposite side of the map. So you guys die, but you traded for a tower, and towers are good. Sean wants to take camp here. I don't know why you're hanging around here when you're low. This is really dangerous. So you managed to get this, and then you win, but that's only because the red team is AFK and they don't want to help for some reason, because this is like an easy Syndra stun. You guys should all die here. Shouldn't be allowed to contest that red buff. You die here? Yeah, you die, but it should be a lot cleaner from red side. So end up not even getting that buff goes to Shyvana anyways. Yasuo dies to Jace. Shyvana ultis nothing. Yeah, don't do that on Shyvana. Make sure you connect your ultimate ability. It does damage when it hits. It's not just a gap closer, and you don't want to use it halfway into the wall and get bounced out either. So red team answers the mid tower. There's fighting. Yasuo's fighting people. Jace kills someone. Shyvana's still farming the jungle instead of pushing her towers. She does collect dragon here, which is good. I mean, she still has a monstrous CS lead here. It's approaching like 1,000 gold, which is actually disgusting. Disgusting amount of gold difference. Alright. Yeah, then it's just like somehow red team just throws this. And like, it's good to be able to take advantage of throws like that, but honestly it's usually just up to your opponents to give you the win and tilt. So usually this is like the AFK X factor, which is that if you ever stop being behind in a 4v5 situation, the team of 5 players gets super tilted and then will throw because they're losing 4v5 and it's really embarrassing and they all get mad at each other. So that's like the 4v5 X factor, is that you can just tilt them by being ahead in a 4v5 situation. So even though the 5 team should still always be ahead because you outscale them, because you have a 5th person worth of gold on your team, it's just enough to tilt them so that they throw. And then you just get chain picks and then win. So that's probably what happens here. You get a good team fight, red team's flaming each other, they're tilted, there's chaos. Shyvana commits suicide because she's like, oh, my team, I farmed so well, and they're like behind, what happened? It's not my fault, it's my teammates, yada yada yada. Classic, you know, that sort of thing. Just fighting, clearing sideways, more fighting. So I'm not talking as much about this team fighting stuff because I think there are people who can talk about it in more depth than I can. So which is why I'm passing over it very lightly. If you're still interested in it, I can go over it in more detail, but I think that kind of knowledge is easier to practice, so I wanted to focus on things that are less intuitive, like jungle pathing. So you somehow get Baron after red team commits suicide again. It's good. Get him Baron. That helps you win. It's a good thing to have. Yeah, so splitting. Jace is like not there. Just on his, yeah, so basically red team's just flaming each other and never grouping and leveraging the 5v4 advantage. So then they just keep getting chain picked, and that's the worst thing you can do when you're 5 people, because you outscale them. You just need to avoid dying. You don't need to like try farming sideways like that. Should be able to end off of this, or at least inhib. Hard to tell. The timer's pretty long. Do you end? Yeah, you don't end here, so there's another fight. You kite him out. Lose GA. Yasuo dies. Vayne's top lane. Red team can just push out and regroup, get Baron vision. Red team's warding is really poor. Like, actually both teams have pretty poor vision. Like, look at Red's vision. They have no deep wards. Blue has no deep wards. So that's why people are dying so much, is that neither team has information. So you just keep running each other into the dark. That's why there's all these fighting and so much chaos. And you get a clean win from either side if just either team decides to invest in deep vision. This pink ward should be replaced. Whose is it? Morgana. Yeah, Morgana should move this pink ward up. It's not useful in that situation. Alright, so you go mid. More fighting. Everyone loves fighting. Siobhan tries to flank. She just dies for free. So you end up playing these team fights okay, but basically red team just tilted and then like spoon fed you the win. So it was nice. You didn't play badly, but there really was kind of up to red team to spoon feed you that win. So a lot of these things just kind of depend on red team giving up, unfortunately. And I guess that's it. I'll call it good at that. So hopefully some of this was helpful. I know I spent a lot of time on the early game, but I think that's one of the most important phases of the jungle, so I thought it was worth spending more time on. A lot of team fighting stuff is not jungle specific, it's just learning the game, learning how to team fight, learning how to combo, and it's just very champion specific, so I want to invest time in something that would generalize the most, so that would be most efficient use of time. Alright, thanks.